Well, welcome to the Naples Mac Friends user group, and we're very excited about having you today. I've sent out a number of notices about the meeting, so everybody in the room should have a pretty good idea, but you might want to introduce yourself in a few words.
Yeah, so my name is Bradley Chambers. My full-time job is the Director of IT at Brainerd Baptist School in Chattanooga, so a couple hours north of you guys. All right, so I'll continue. Then I also write for 9to5mac.com on the site as well. And what I wanted to talk about today is how to back up your Mac. This is something that is really easy now. I mean, there's a lot of different options and a lot of different ways to do it. But I think there's some key things you want to think about, and then there's some key services, kind of key methodologies that you can use. So the first thing I want to kind of reiterate is that services like iCloud or Dropbox, in my opinion, do not constitute a backup. Because I consider backups to be something that's a one-way sync. So if, let's say, for example, you have all your photos in iCloud photo library. Well, if for whatever reason they get deleted from one device, they're deleted from all devices. And so that's a syncing solution, not necessarily a backup solution. And I understand that, it's certainly better than nothing. Having your photos in iCloud photo library is better than nothing. But if possible, it's ideal to have it in a way that's a one-way backup. That means so the first thing we'll talk about is Apple's Time Machine program. And Time Machine came out, probably 2006, 7, with Mac OS Leopard. And essentially what it is you plug up a hard drive to your laptop or desktop, and Time Machine makes a copy of it. And as long as the drive's plugged up, it will back it up every hour. Only the change files, obviously, so you don't have to back up the entire thing every hour. Like, let's say 100 megabytes of files changes over the next hour, it would back up those. And so that makes it very easy to restore from. If there's a hardware issue, it's my favorite way to restore because it's the fastest way. If your hard drive crashes or you get a new Mac, it's very easy just to plug up your Time Machine drive and you can migrate everything back using the built-in wizard that Apple uses, and it brings everything back on your desktop. Very, very, very easy, and it's free. All you need is an external hard drive, and those can be found for under $60 now on Amazon, and 2 terabytes easily. The nice thing about having a big drive, a really big drive, is you can keep multiple copies of your computer. So let's say you realize you saved over a document you didn't mean to, you can go into your Time Machine drive and pull back a previous version from it and kind of fix that. Very, very nice. Now, the downside of Time Machine is it's also limited, can be limited to a hardware failure. So let's say, for example, your house burns down and both your computers are in the same room. Well, you've lost your backup and you've lost your primary. So that stinks. Or like, let's say you have flood or a theft. Ideally you'll want to have multiple copies of your data. So with Time Machine, what I kind of like to do is have 2, especially if you have a laptop, is to have 2 Time Machine drives and send one off-site. So let's say you have an office. Well, make a Time Machine backup of your home computer at home onto 2 external drives, and take one of them to work, and maybe kind of rotate them. Take the one that's at home to work so often, so you're kind of keeping those rotated. The key thing is to keep them both up to date, so don't take one to work and then never update it. Take it home once a month and update it. What you can do as well is you can do what's called cloning a drive. So I don't do this day to day, but it is, if you need to recover quickly from a hardware failure, it makes it very easy. So cloning is what's called making a bootable backup of a drive. So let's say you have a Thunderbolt drive that's very, very fast, and you can use that as your backup drive. Well, if you have a hardware failure, you can actually boot off of that drive. So you can hold Option when you boot up your Mac and choose that external drive to actually run your computer off of. So very handy if you're in the middle of a project, have a hardware problem, you can boot from it, work, and then send your computer off to Apple to be repaired. Now, that is not a free app. There's some apps like Super Duper and Carbon Copy Cloner for the Mac that work very well. And again, it's making an exact copy of your Mac. So that's an option as well. My kind of third option that I recommend is a product called Backblaze. I really, really, really like Backblaze. So for $60 a year, you get unlimited cloud-based backup. And so what this is you install an app on your Mac, and it just runs and backs things up. And just, obviously not backing up to an external drive, it's backing up to a cloud service. And this is all Backblaze does, is offsite backups. Now, obviously restoring from that can be slower because you're having to download everything, and it's not as seamless, so you couldn't you're not going to be able to restore your computer to the exact same state. This would be a way that you could restore your photo library, but not exactly like your exact Mac dock configuration. But again, and the nice thing is if you have a lot of data, you don't want to download it, you can buy an external drive from Backblaze. They'll send it to you in the mail, and you can have your data that way. And again, the nice thing about that is it's kind of impervious to floods, thefts, fires, all that stuff. It's kind of to me, I look at it as a backup of my backup. Now, it's a really, really great Mac app. You can, tell it, hey, don't back up when I'm on battery power, or only back up once a day. Lots of nice options there. And again, it's $60 a year. And if you only do one thing, Backblaze is a really good thing to do. It's one of those things where if you had a hardware failure and you lost everything that you owned on your computer, you do wish you paid that $60 a year. It's $5 a month, I think, $5-6 a month. It's really, really good service. And again, it's one of those, I don't want to ever have to restore from Backblaze. I'd rather use a time machine drive because I feel like it's faster to do it from a local backup. But again, it's a good backup of your backup for mission critical data. Now again, that's a subscription, so it is ongoing. You have to pay that every year. Now, I know a lot of you probably use iCloud, Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox, those type services, and I mentioned those that I don't really consider those to be true backups, but they're certainly better than nothing. Having your photos in iCloud photo library is better than not having them in iCloud. Again, most of these services cost money. I mean, iCloud has a free version, but it's only 5 gigabytes, so you're not going to be able to back up a whole lot. Again, I look at these services as for convenience, not necessarily as a backup. For example, iCloud has an option to where your documents and your desktop folders can be synced to iCloud. I had to run the UPS earlier, and you dropped something off to be returned. Well, they had to scan the QR code to generate the return label from Amazon. Well, the nice thing about that is I just saved the QR code to my desktop, pulled up the Files app on my iPhone, pulled up the QR code, they were able to scan it. So again, I look at iCloud for those type of things, but not necessarily as my true backup. Again, if that's the only thing to do, that's better than having nothing.
Bradley?
You're relying on
Bradley.
iCloud, Dropbox to do that. And that's better than nothing. So those are kind of the different ways to do. I like to have what I call a 3-to-1 method. 3 copies of your data.
I have a question. Is the Backblaze information essentially a clone, or does it have time hacks that I can go back in time on Backblaze files? You
can go back in time. I'm not sure how far they go back. But you can go back in time. And they have an iPhone app too, so if you have a file that's like on your computer that you don't have saved on a cloud service, you could download that file on your iPhone.
Thank you.
Any other questions while we got them?
Can you spell the name of that backup?
Backblaze. But my thing is 3 backups, 3 locations, 3 copies, 2 locations, at least 1 offsite.
Okay, we have another question.
Excuse me if you already answered this, I had to step out. Crash plan versus backslays.
Crash Plan, their app is Java based, and I believe they got Crash Plan moved away from the personal like kind of version. They're more into the business editions, I believe. Like if you go to the website, it's Crash Plan for small businesses. But Backblaze has the native Mac application, so I really prefer it over over Crash Plan.
Okay. We have one more?
Okay.
Wait, one second.
I have,
One second. I got to mute. Go ahead.
I have a time machine and Super Duper with this Backblaze suffice for a second backup.
Well, if you got Time Machine and a clone with Super Duper, then Backblaze is your third backup. So when I think it's 3 copies, I think of like if you told me I've got Time Machine, the data's on your Mac, it's on my Time Machine, but it's also in Backblaze. To me, that's 3 copies. I count the one that's the main one, but I just want one of them to be cloud-based, and definitely at least one off-site.
Time machine, first of all, my smart mailboxes were all deleted. And I tried to recover them from Time Machine. Time Machine would not give me an opportunity to recover the smart mailboxes. Why is that, or was something wrong? I even called Apple about this.
I don't know. I don't use smart mailboxes, so I wouldn't know about that. I'd like to think it would be correct, but I don't know for sure.
All right, let's let him continue.
That's all I got. Covering the 3. The biggest thing was the 3-2-1 strategy in terms of 3 copies, 2 locations, 1 off-site. So using a combination of Time Machine, Backblaze, and then if possible a service like iCloud as well. Those are my big tips. And always you need to be planning for your hard drives to die. Statistically, they last 3 years. It's certainly gotten better with flash storage. But I always assume my hard drive's going to die the next day, and you need to be ready for that. The best day to start backing up was the day you bought your computer. The second best day is today.
Okay, let's open for questions now.
Would Backblaze keep track of iTunes playlists?
It would keep track of the iTunes database. So if you restored like the configuration files for iTunes, it should be able to recover those.
So I'm just not clear about your answer. Does that mean it would keep the music, but not necessarily the way I've organized it?
No, it should, because the iTunes has a library file that you should be able to download and restore. So if you downloaded your complete music folder, it would have all of that, and then iTunes could read up that. I think it'd be the same as downloading your iCloud library. It would not only download the original files, but also download all of your configurations as well. But if you're using a service like Apple Music, it would also sync those over Apple Music as well.
I tend to make playlists of music that I've either bought or have on CDs.
Well, that's the great thing about Apple Music is, and why I like it over Spotify, is you can mix and match things you bought and or ripped and sync them over iCloud. It's called iCloud Library, but it syncs all of your files. I'm a really big fan of the band Need to Breathe, for example, and I have a lot of their concert files that are not available on Apple Music, and I can mix and match them right along the stuff I stream.
I'm a new Apple guy, and when I disconnect, I have a Apple Surface Air. When I disconnect it, I hit escape all, but sometimes they say I disconnected incorrectly. What am I doing wrong?
You've got to eject the drive. You right click on it and eject it, wait for the icon to disappear, and and then it's safe to pull out then.
Is it an eject all or for time?
You can right click on the drive, the external hard drive, or you can drag it to the trash to eject it. But you want to wait till the icon disappears.
Okay.
Question? That's all the question?
Recommended hard drives?
They're all about the same. They're all made in the same factory until one. They're all about the same. Whatever's on sale.
All right, Don, we're waiting for you. You must have a question.
Not yet, no.
So, all hard drives are pretty much the same as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, I always buy a Western Digital, a Seagate, or a Toshiba, but like I said, they're all about the same.
What about the SSDs?
Oh, yeah, I mean, for a backup drive, that's, not as a necessity as it is in like your actual main storage. It's certainly it's more expensive to get an SSD, but if you can afford it, it's always nice to be faster. It's a little bit more durable, but again, not as a necessity.
How long the SSD drives last?
It's just going to depend. I mean, 1 day or 4 years, somewhere in between.
Jerry? I thought you had a question. Yes.
Make a comment that I do record videos, and they're very large files. The advantage of Blackblaze and CrashPlan for me is the fact that they allow you to back up external drives, and they don't seem to have a limit as long as you go to their business. Their business is more expensive, but I think they're both about $90 a year now. But both of them allow you to do external drives. That's just a comment.
Yeah, the only caveat of that was I know is the external drives need to be plugged up once every 14 days to remain in the backup. So yeah, if you've got an iMac and you can daisy chain off a 2 terabyte hard drive from it, you can back all that up to Backblaze as well for the same price.
Marilyn?
Any comments on the changes that Apple is making with iTunes or iPad OS or the new things that are coming down the pipe?
iTunes changes, good. Apple Music. I mean, the world has just changed to where we stream most of our music, and iTunes doesn't need to do all that it does now. I mean, you got to think 5 years ago, we were syncing our iPhones and putting applications on there. You're doing books there. People download everything over the air to their devices now. So it makes sense for the Finder to kind of take over syncing and the iTunes app to kind of go away as a brand and really be an Apple Music app. And we're also getting a standalone podcast app, which will be nice. And then iPad OS, it's great. I think for the line to evolve, it can't be limited to what the iPhone can do. So to me, not a lot of changes this year with the iPad that are kind of the game changer. It means being able to plug up USB drive to it is nice. The desktop class browser is nice. I think this just sets the iPad up long term to be able to cash the checks that the Pro hardware is writing. Right now, I mean, you've got a $1,000 iPad Pro 13 inches that can't access the full web. And so now, by doing some of those things, getting a full version of the web browser, pretty excited for the future.
Oh, here's Don. Don always has a question.
Replacing that, I have a time capsule. They're kind of old. It still works. Should I still keep using it? And if not, what recommended router do you have? And can I hook the external backup drive to the router, or it has to be plugged into my MacBook Pro?
Yeah, Apple has discontinued the time capsule and airport line, the routers. To me, it was a huge mistake. I think the market now is right for them to sell routers at a hefty price. I never liked using the time capsule just because the storing over Wi-Fi was always very slow. For home routers, I really like Google Wi-Fi for the price. They have comes with 3 access points, $250. If you're wary of putting Google things in your home, a company called Eero makes good products. They were recently purchased by Amazon. Again, I think that to me the simplest thing is you buy a cheap drive, plug it up once a week, make your backup, and put it in your desk and be done with it. But use Backblaze for your stuff day to day.
Okay, what was the name of the non-Google router you recommended, or did you?
Eero, E-E-R-O. They are significantly more expensive than Google Wi-Fi. So I've got Google Wi-Fi in my house. It's work fine.
Thank you.
So the Eero, that's a router, right? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the markets now, it used to be where you had one router and that was it, but now the mesh networking is very popular to where you have, one hardwired router and then you have a couple of satellites that rebroadcast the signal. These are much better than the old range extenders. You don't have multiple SSIDs that connect to devices just seamlessly. They work very well. Linksys makes a couple of products that Apple sells in stores. Long gone are the days of buying $30 router from Walmart and making it work. I mean, those are good when we have 2 devices. Like for example, in my house, I've got 30 devices on my network at any given time. And you think, oh, that's a lot. How many computers do you have? Well, I've got 2 thermostats. I've got 5 Apple TVs. I've got a network tech storage. I've got 5 iPads in my house, a laptop, 2 iPhones. Then we've also got tons of our lights on, so where I can access those and turn them off remotely. So you got to have a router that's kind of capable of supporting all that.
Okay, Marilyn?
Yeah, I have a follow-up question. I actually have a Comcast router in my house, I want to put a little booster to make the signal go a little further. Are there any that are generic that just will work with any router?
Yeah, no, those range extenders really stink. Comcast resells a product that is meant for this. So if you want to stick with your Comcast router, you can call them and ask, they have a product they sell. They can plug up these little wireless boosters themselves. But if not, you can pick up another product and then turn off the Wi-Fi on your Comcast router. I think you have to call them to do that, but it's pretty easy to do. Yeah, we have 5 TVs and we don't have cable, so I haven't had cable in 7 years.
And you don't have any problem with it disconnecting on any of them?
No. Good Wi-Fi, and Chattanooga has the fastest internet in America.
Doesn't Chattanooga has Wi-Fi for everybody, doesn't it?
No, they don't have Wi-Fi for everybody. We have fiber for everybody in the city. No, you have to pay for it. It's not free, but, we can get gigabit internet for under $70 a month. No caps. It's almost like internet has become a utility and shouldn't be ran by for-profit corporations.
Jim?
What kind of download speeds do you get?
The packages are, you can get 100 meg is the starter package, symmetrical up and down, or you can go to a gigabit for $12 more a month. No, sorry, it's not 100, it starts at 300. It's 300 by 300 or gigabit. They just upgraded. But the biggest thing is caps. If you've got Comcast, they cap you at a terabyte a month and you got to pay extra. We don't. And I probably use a couple of terabytes a month between streaming Netflix and things like that, because again, we don't have cable.
Any other
I'm
questions?
also a believer in people not having social media too. I'm speaking at a church on that tonight.
You're a believer in what?
Most people not like Facebook, people not having Facebook accounts and Instagram accounts. I think all that stuff's like toxic.
Well, whenever I talk to my daughters, that's all I hear about is my grandkids get on the phone and they say, "Grandpa, will you please talk to your daughter," which is their mother, about getting me Instagram and whatever, Snapchat, and that seems so. Where do you stand on that?
Okay, here's my thing. Okay. Kids have the, okay, let me step back. What are your goals for your grandkids in life?
I want them to be decent, fine, good people.
And, do well in school,
Right.
go to college, get good jobs. How does a Facebook account help them accomplish that?
But so.
Okay, and then I go back to like adults. So like if, let's say your daughter, what are her goals in life? Raise a family, be a good wife, X, Y, Z. Does a Facebook account help or hinder that? I think most people say it's like, if you say, I don't know about you guys, but, one of my goals for me and my kids is to love Jesus. A Facebook account hinders that. And a 15-year-old has the ability to ruin their life with social media based on things they say. They can say things on there that they can't take back. And people say, oh, we just need to teach them. It's like, yeah, you're right. Why don't we give a 15-year-old a gun and teach them how to make the right decisions? No, we're giving people a driver's license at 15. For my kids, for example, our rules would be no social media until you're paying for your phone. You want to pay for your phone? That's an adult decision. Then you can do that. But as long as you're on my payroll, there will be no social media because it doesn't help you accomplish your goals in life at all. And I think for most people, it's a gigantic waste of time. Facebook is the most toxic thing that's ever happened to our country or our world. The number of marriages that have broken because of Facebook is outstanding.
Marilyn?
Yeah, I have another question about artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence?
Right. One of my grandsons is working in that area, and he's very excited about the medical implications of it. There are a lot of upsides to it, but there are also some downsides. How do you view the future of it, and what are your views on the pros and cons?
I think a lot of that stuff, I think two things, medical field and with transportation, I think we will see more changes in the next 10 years in those two fields than we saw in the previous 50 years. I think in the very near future, possibly when my kids are driving, the idea of humans driving cars will seem foreign, and they may not ever have driver's license. I think autonomous driving is a lot closer than we think. And I think the idea of people driving in cars and having car brakes, we will think like this is crazy. I think electric vehicles are very quickly coming, and I think AI plays along with that. Certainly in the AI field, machine learning is big. And for example, Apple did this gigantic heart study, and the amount of heart data they gathered through Apple Watch was outstanding. I was talking to my urologist about that, and he said if I got the number of samples that Apple got through that heart study, we could solve all sorts of kidney diseases. And I think a lot of that goes into the more data we have, the better decision making we can have. And I think AI is going to help us do that a lot. Now, I trust companies like Apple with that data a lot more than I do companies like Google or Facebook or Amazon. But I do think that wearable technology in the health industry is going to be huge.
Okay, Natalie.
How do you feel about posting on YouTube? I haven't used it that much, but I have it recommended to me for putting family videos on, and I have not done it but once because of my lack of trust.
I think there are just ways to share videos. Again, if everybody's using Apple devices, you can share them over iCloud and keep them private. I'm not one to post pictures of my kids on the internet. I think, I don't know, like the kids who are like 18 right now are the first generation that grown up with their parents having Facebook and smartphone. And I am sure they're sick and tired of their parents putting every picture of themselves on the internet.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, but then I have another one.
Okay.
what I'm trying to do is take hard drives and put them on different families and put up all the past photographs and videos on separate drives for each one. Because I'm getting to the age now, I have to think about that. How do I want to leave it? And is it in a good enough condition for them to be able to use it? And right now, the only solution would be a hard drive.
As long as they take that hard drive and then get it into whatever system they have their photos in, that'd be great. So if they use Google Photos, upload this stuff off that hard drive into Google Photos. But I certainly think about that as well. My grandmother gave me, 2 big albums of my pictures when I was a kid. So I went through and scanned like 20 of them. I think it's funny, I probably took 20 pictures of my kids last week, and I scanned 20 pictures from birthday 18 of me. I imagine my kids, when I hand them off their photo library, if they're childhood, they're going to be like, why did you take so many pictures? But the nice thing about them being digital is they're kind of always preserved as long as they're backed up. Digital photos don't degrade like physical ones do.
Thank you.
So what you are saying then is, because that is a big concern for many of us in this room, because the average age probably of our MAC group is maybe in the mid-70s. And so you're suggesting that if she does put that on a hard drive, sends the hard drive to her kids, but then encourages them to move that information into whatever backup that they're using at the moment.
Yeah, if they are an Apple person, take those photos and import them into iCloud photo libraries that would then kind of be into the ecosystem.
We had a problem last week. I recorded the meeting, and oh, by the way, is it okay to record this meeting?
I hope so.
No, because if it's not, we won't. I'm going to post
you're
it.
good.
I usually post it on YouTube. Is that all right?
Sure.
Okay. As a matter of fact, the ones that I posted on YouTube that you've been at have had a number of hits. So
Did you get good ad revenue from that? If so, can I have some of it?
No, we don't have any ad revenue. But I thought maybe you had allowed or let people know on your end that maybe this was out there.
No, I will once it's public.
Okay. We had a situation last week where we recorded our meeting, and the meeting, the fellow that was directing the meeting was using a lot of video from YouTube, some that were reviewing the WWDC meeting. In other words, he was covering in his meeting what took place at the meeting, the WWDC meeting, and he was going to YouTube and picking videos that were recapping that meeting. The bottom line is that when I posted it to YouTube, within like 5 minutes it was blocked to the world. And I'm just curious, I don't really understand why, because we've done that in the past. Or when he makes a presentation, he'll often use YouTube videos, and we've never had a problem with it being blocked in the past.
Yeah, something, changing of the ways that YouTube, I guess they have, that once you basically rehosting other people's content.
Okay.
George,
Yes.
what are the most common questions that people ask you? We run several classes here in the spring, 3-hour classes, and we usually do updates on the Apple apps and things like that, or new things that are happening with the Apple products. But to come up with classes, I always wonder, what are the most common questions that people have about Apple products or using them, or iOS or OS or apps, etc. Do you have experience with that?
Always like how to organize photos, backup photos, everything related to photos. It's universal for everybody. I mean, not everybody wants to make movies, but everybody takes photos, for example.
Well, we do a photos class, so.
I've always been interested, Bradley, in your job. How many machines do you basically, or how many computers, iPads, and so forth?
200 plus iPads, 150 plus Macs.
Have they always, has the school always been Mac?
Yeah, ever since I've been here, they have been.
Well, you've been there like, what, 18, 19 years, I think?
No, 10.
10? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what are some of the major things that you come across?
I mean, just how I interact with technology, or these products are, if you have an iPad, when you get it out of the box, you're setting it up from scratch and going through a setup screen. I don't have to do that. I'm devices. I'm getting them, 200 up at a time, and so I have to have them where it's like, 0 touch deployment. So I need these things out of the box, and I need them to be imaged over the air. So like when I get iPads, for example, as soon as they connect with Apple's activation system and hit Wi-Fi, we'll have set up like a guest network for that day, and they connect to that. They download all their configurations over the air. I manage them over the air. I update them over the air. Push apps out to them over the air. And so the hardest thing I have to do is put cases on them. I'm not plugging up these things to iTunes individually and setting them up and syncing apps, or even, it's all kind of what they call zero touch configuration.
One question.
Yes.
Do you, I don't really know your background, you're involved in the schools and how, do you take donations of old Mac donations for school?
We don't, just because most of the time things that are too old for people to want to use at home, we don't want to use them either, because they're a lot of times more trouble than they're worth. And then how we manage devices is different. If people donate iPads, we can't manage them the same way that we manage things that are what they call institutionally owned. Apple has this whole Apple School Manager and Apple Business Manager ecosystem to where they know what serial numbers we own, and we can do things to those devices that, like, if you have a device you bought from the Apple Store from Best Buy, you can't do the same thing.
What would be the maximum year age that
Um,
you accept as a donation?
Anything that's for example, we have iPad Air 2s right now, and we're coming up in the last year of the lease, and we'll go to like 6th generation iPad next, or it's a new one we put in. So I'd generally like to have whatever we have at the time, that'd be the oldest, just because I don't want to have to have software situations where we're like, okay, these 10 devices can't run this, so then if we have an app that requires that, these can't do that, and then it creates chaos again. For schools, we need everything to be the same, so teachers can have an expectation of what their devices can do.
Thank you.
So how often?
What was that, Natalie?
I didn't get how often they replace them. Replace them.
How often do you?
Our school is every 3 to 4 years. We have a lease with Apple. We just refresh it.
The Maryland?
Oh, I found in my house a couple of old iPod touches, and I lent one to my brother, and he's going to give it back to me because we were using it to listen to books. Is there any use for iPad touches? Any ideas anybody would want one? Or
you can buy a brand new one for $200. So, and again, it goes back to if you're like, we're going to donate these to the schools. It's hard to build a curriculum around something like 4 of something, for example. You really got to. It'd be like having oh, wait, we have 4 of these textbooks. Well, 4 textbooks aren't necessarily useful, so they would need 40 of them or 100 of them.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about donating to a school, I was just thinking about what to do with them. I mean, I can offer them for free to anybody that wants them, or they even have the previous hookup, so I had to buy some of the old hookups for them. I just didn't know if there was any use for them, or just to give them to Goodwill, or just, I don't know what to do with them.
I mean, they're still good for listening to books or podcasts, but outside that, they're not super, super useful.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Interested in updating my Mac. What's your recommendation? Should I get a Mac with as much internal storage as I can afford, or just go with low storage and use external hard drives?
My recommendation when you buy a computer is if you if you're the type that keeps a computer for 3 to 4 years at a time, get the max you can afford and have fun.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Wait,
Do we have another question?
Yeah.
Don?
Streaming. I signed up once for CBS All Access or whatever, but you can't fast forward. I'm old. I like to watch live, network programs. I don't care if it's at the same time that it's on, but I'll record the news, for example, and then watch it later, and I can fast forward through the commercials. So it only takes 20 minutes to watch the news. But if I cut the cord, how can I watch, say, the nightly news, CBS News, or CBS, the 2-hour morning program, which I watch in about an hour because I've taped it? Is there any way to avoid having to watch the commercials if you cut the cord?
If the streaming services don't allow you to skip the ads, then probably not. Just do like everybody else and get out your phone when the commercials come on. You can get on Facebook, that's a joke.
Jim?
CBS All Access has 2 levels of subscription. One where you have to watch the commercials, and one where you don't. The one where you don't costs $10 a month, but the one that you don't fast forward is about $6 a month, and the one where you can fast forward is about $10 a month.
That's the one I had, but I didn't have that experience. And also, I couldn't cancel. Fortunately, I used a temporary credit card, but using 3 different browsers and 2 different computers, I could not cancel my subscription, but it ran out when they tried to renew because my credit limit on that virtual card was only $50.
All right, I think, by looking at Bradley, I think he needs to get back to work.
I do. Well, I've got another meeting that starts in just a few minutes. I got to jump. But certainly happy to take questions over email if anybody has something coming up.
All right, well, listen, Bradley, we really appreciate you taking your time today.